Scrub hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I am your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp all around the world on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Roku TV. We are growing everywhere, including on the website. Speaking of growing on the website, be sure to check out our legal cannabis gardens that we are growing, and we're growing them in Portland, Oregon, where medical cannabis is a wonderful thing that can happen to somebody who needs it. And if you don't need medical cannabis, well, you can go into one of our dispensaries and show your ID. And if you're of legal age, you can buy some recreational marijuana, as we call it, to enjoy as you head out to watch Star Wars. With that said, I'm going to put a spotlight on the hardworking people in Canada. It is Tuesday with my joint host. I love saying joint host here on the big broadcast. And we're going to be talking about some of the joint issues up there. We're going to have a joint chat with Kriston from KDK Distributors and our joint friend Al Graham here on the Big Joint Network. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. It's nice to jointly have you into a chat.
Hello, Casper. Hello, Al. Happy 2016.
Hello, Casper. Hello, Kelly. Happy 2016 to you guys too.
Thank you. Let's hope that it keeps growing the way the last year ended. It's pretty exciting about what your government's doing and what ours needs to follow yours, apparently.
Well,
yes.
You are sort of. You're doing it on a state level, where we're doing it on a federal level, which is much more appealing because it applies to everybody then, as opposed to just if you live in Colorado. I saw a great comic the other day. They had a small picture of the U.S. map showing Colorado, and it was full of people from corner to corner, and it said, "Come here to Arkansas," where they only had a few people.
Well, that there's a lot of truth in that. That's even happening here in Oregon. The landlords and the people who are involved in real estate sales are just all excited. And those of us who have to pay rent are having a more and more difficult time finding suitable housing. And it's because of the boom that has occurred in the marijuana industry, cannabis industry here in the state. Medical patients are arriving here. Those who want to enjoy the recreational aspect of it here are moving here. And then there are companies that are setting up shop and starting new businesses that they recognize will be of true value. And so it's pretty exciting to watch it grow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's only on the start here, but it is a start, and I think it's a great start. And we just got to keep on them and make sure they keep moving forward. Hey, Al?
Yeah, that's right. Correct.
You're going to do your part out there, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We hear it out here in the East. It's exciting to see what's going to be coming down the pipe. Now, there's no guarantees that everybody's going to like the end result, but it's much better than the prohibition of cannabis. That's for sure.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
A little more common sense. I on this show several times, I know that Casper and I have laughed about common sense in government, but I get this really, really strange feeling that Justin Trudeau possesses common sense and is going to use it.
Yes.
I don't want to say too much too early, of course, but it looks like this guy's doing the right things because it's the right thing to do, not for any other reason, which is as we know, not so automatic with politicians. Although they say that's what they're supposed to do, let's face it, we know that doesn't always happen.
No.
And I really get that feeling with Mr. Trudeau in power, and I didn't expect that would be a big plus, but it appears, he's on the common sense trail. And
Yeah, he is.
it's
He
refreshing.
talked.
It's very
He
refreshing.
He talked during the election back in October about evidence-based policies, and not ones that are driven by ideology. So it's good to see that he's doing what he's talking about when it comes to cannabis prohibition, using evidence-based policy to form it. And it will be it's going to be an exciting time once it finally gets there. It's not going to happen overnight. Some of the good things that we've seen are things such as he was transparent when it came to his mandate letters to the ministers. And there it was right there in the justice minister's mandate letter in order to come up with a way of legalizing cannabis.
Right. How to facilitate it, how to control it, how to regulate it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly. And, we are seeing a lot of people, speaking up. It's coming from the Canadian Association of Medical Cannabis Dispensaries, talking about what they would like to see. You've had the provinces talking about what, some floating around some ideas, what they're talking about. And I know myself, I've talked to many advocates about what, I sort of see on a model, something as simple as, you can go to the restaurant down the street or a bar down the street at nighttime, listen to some great music, and you can order yourself some, alcoholic beverage, whether it's a rye and ginger ale or a beer. So why can't we go to a place, like our existing lounges? Why couldn't we go to them and, buy a few grams while we're there?
I'm down.
I have. They say that the liquor stores are a very good place in order to put cannabis because the people there are trained to ask for ID and what proper types of ID to be used, so on and so forth. Those same people are also employed at bars and other alcohol establishments. Those people are trained on how to do that. So why couldn't a cannabis lounge do the same thing? So I know I'm all for that. I don't know whether our government is.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that they just, it's new territory. So they're doing the same thing as the rest of us, trying to figure out in what direction is best to go for all parties concerned. Which is different than in years past where it was, well, I guess probably the usual, follow the money and you'll see where the concerns come from.
Yeah. And Trudeau's talking about doing this. He talks a lot about trying to keep it away from our youth. As you know, Kelly, Canada does lead the world according to the UNICEF report that was done in 2013. The Canada leads the youth consumption rate, and this is a step in order to try to reduce that. And it also brings in account that any of those revenues are now going to government sources instead of other sources.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
And I, again, the everybody's looking at the money from the taxes, but they're not looking at the money that we're going to save from incarceration, policing, judges, bailiffs. Let's just think of all the time, money, and effort it takes to prosecute somebody for possession of cannabis. And, that's all going to be eliminated. So there are some other bonuses yet to be reaped. And,
yes.
They're definitely coming as well.
It sort of looks like he's going to allow the provinces to set up their own system. Sort of like in the U.S., whereas in the states they're setting up their own system. Mind you, it's being done state by state, and it's still illegal federally. Whereas here, it's going to be legal federally, and they're going to allow the state. Appears they're going to allow the provinces to come up with their own systems. And it's going to be taxed, but they're really going to have to watch to make sure that they don't overtax it.
Right, and continue to create a black market for the product. Yes, you bet.
Yeah.
If they tax it reasonable, like they do with alcoholic beverages, I think that it's not really reasonable. They're pretty high tax rates
Yeah.
on sin taxes, I guess, if you want to call them that. Um, I'm certainly going to believe that they're not going to charge less taxes than what they do on alcohol. I'm pretty certain of that. So
Yeah.
whether they think they can charge more, I think they only need look to the south to see that Colorado still has a thriving black market industry, only because the tax rate is so high, and on these facilities down there, that the inevitably, of course, the consumer's paying for that, but it does not eliminate or reduce very much the black market, unfortunately, which is something we do need to get away from with legalization. And overtaxation is definitely going to be an issue, or one of the
Yeah,
things to look at.
a few years ago here in Ontario, that happened with the cigarettes, where tobacco got too high in the taxes, and they were finding that a lot of people were actually going to the reserves, the Aboriginal reserves, and buying the cigarettes there because they were less. There was no tax,
Right.
and they were finding people were smuggling it and so on and so forth. So they actually lowered the taxes. So hopefully, the provinces learn from that, and it will keep the tax rate down. I know in some of my discussions with people in the public, they ask the question about, well, will it eliminate organized crime and stuff like that? And it's just like alcohol and tobacco. It's never going to be completely eliminated, but it's going to be reduced to a point.
Well, they're certainly going to move on. All of a sudden, the enormous profits are no longer there. So enterprises like organized crime, of course, once alcohol became legal, they just move on to other things. And those organizations are not going away. They're only going to find other things that are prohibited or that are illegal, and that's where they're going to make their money.
Yeah, exactly.
Prohibition is all it does is create the black market and create the criminal element to facilitate the black market.
Yeah. So what do you there was they're talking about here in Ontario. They've talked about liquor stores, Quebec, BC, and stuff. I noticed that our temporary conservative leader, Rona Ambrose, has talked about. I guess her concern is that kids can still get alcohol, so she's thinking that kids can still get cannabis through a licensed regimen.
Well, of course. I mean, once it's legal and it's out there like alcohol, let's face it, it doesn't matter what you do, kids are going to access it. Whether, when I was a kid and we weren't old enough to buy alcohol, but we wanted to get some, we just stood out near the liquor store and looked for somebody that we thought would be, sympathetic to our cause, and give them our money and let them go in and purchase our alcohol. And I'm sure that still happens today. And if you drink alcohol, you're going to have alcohol in your home. How many people the first time they got drunk on the gin or the peppermint schnapps or the stuff that people don't drink in the family liquor cabinet? They still have access to it there. Same thing with pharmaceuticals. Most of the kids that get these pharmaceuticals, they got them from home. They didn't get them from the street. Yes, it's an unfortunate thing. Yes, we don't want it to happen, but you aren't going to prevent it unless you, again, prohibit everything, and then it just becomes wild with the black market, and there will be chaos in the world. So. We can't say no. Children are not going to be able to access marijuana. Yes, they're going to be able to access marijuana, whether it be through standing at the liquor store and having somebody sympathetic and maybe getting them, as it becomes more accepted into the general psyche of the population. People are going to do it. you're going to have an older brother or an older sister or an uncle that's maybe not much older than you. They're going to get it for you. Most kids, even when they're teenagers, they're not legal drinking age, but I know I had a beer or two with my dad before I was of legal age.
I drank wine.
Wine certainly, or we were out camping, or we were somewhere safe. We're not traveling, we're not doing anything, and I certainly never got drunk, but I definitely had a couple of alcoholic beverages with my parents before I was of legal age. Hopefully they don't get arrested for that these days, but it's going to be an impossibility to keep it out of the hands of children. And right now, it's probably going to be less accessible for them once legality comes to cannabis. Because right now it's the black market, and they don't care if you're 14 or 41. Makes no difference to them. They're going to sell you their bag or whatever you're looking for. So I think it's actually going to make it tougher for kids to access cannabis with legality.
Oh, I agree. It's going to reduce it. In my mind, there's no doubt about that. It's, as I mentioned there a few minutes ago, right now in the wide open circuit, we're leading the world in youth consumption. So, there's no way it can make it worse.
Well, you got that right. If we're at the top of the heap of consumption, we're definitely got only one direction to go, which is death.
Exactly. Because they're pushing that. Now, I even noticed that there's a clinic near me that signs patients with a doctor. You're taking your medical information, and they'll have a doctor there on site that will sign your paperwork, so you can access the medical program here. But I noticed on their website, they say that anybody on 25 and under needs a parent's signature. Even though you're legally at 18 as an adult, they're still wanting a parent to sign this document when you're 25 years of age.
Well, now I can understand that because I've been watching some just public TV, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm like 120 in drug years, right? And I'm thinking I still need parental permission to watch some of the crap that's on TV right now, let alone, right?
Well, as you know, you don't have to go back that far. And it's a little bit before my time, but they was Elvis Presley, they would only show above his waist because they thought it was too lewd and lascivious, I guess, to be shaking his hips on TV. And I mean, really, that's what, the 60s?
Yeah,
that's only 50 years ago that even just showing somebody shaking their hips was considered not suitable for television. Well, jump 50 years later, and I don't know what you see on television, but I certainly know what I see.
Well, they sure are gyrating their hips now on TV, aren't they? With that said, we're gonna take a commercial break and pay our bills, and then we're gonna listen to a song about how groovy marijuana is, and then we're gonna come back and pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, Call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
Yeah. I get high. I smoke weed, but I do it at home. I smoke with my mom. Yeah, that's my smoke buddy. Mom got that fire. She's a stoner. My mom's a stoner. She gets high with me. She smokes the kush. She loves the chief. Me and mom, we smoke every day. We smoke every day. My auntie Susan, and my uncle Ray. Purple haze and blue dream. I'm so high. I see blue things. All the kids, they come to my house. They love to come to my house. Cause my mom got a joint in her mouth. Look at mama. My mama. She loves to get high. And she been smoking weed since when? 1975. Wow. My mom's a stoner. Hey mom. She gets high with me. Mom. She smokes the kush. She loves the chief. Mama. From the 70s. Yeah. Pink Floyd. The Grateful Dead. The Temptations. Last Zeppelin. Kurt Cobain. But you know what? Smoke weed with your parents, baby. If you gonna get high at home. I'm how the kids talk to y'all. Cause it's about the kids. Hey kids, let me hear y'all talk. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. 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 Da 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 da.
The group's name, Bizarre. The name of the song that you were listening to is called My Mom's a Stoner. And that was dedicated to all you Gen Xers out there, because quite frankly, all your moms probably are stoners. With that said, we're back here in the Canadian borders talking to our friends about all the successes the Canadians are having there on the cannabis front and the medical cannabis and looks like even recreational cannabis. And a friend of mine here is the joint host, and he is a friend to the cannabis movement by making it possible for somebody who is sick and needs cannabis for medicinal aspects of their healing to be able to enjoy it in a very healthy manner. Isn't that right, Kelly?
Oh, you betcha, 100%. I started my company almost 15 years ago with a quality vaporizer. And at the time, I honestly believed that the people could benefit from it the most was the medical community. And, I brought it back to Canada, and I was really excited. And right from the very first place I went to where I found medical patients, I found that I was 100% correct. These were the people that needed a quality vaporizer more than anybody. But what I also found out was most of these people couldn't afford one because they were already sick. They weren't working. They were on a disability pension, an old age pension, sometimes even no pension at all, welfare, AISH, a program we have here in Alberta. And all of these people really, have a difficult time just making it month to month with being able to pay rent, to have a roof over their head and food in their belly, and then just have any extra money for any medication. It's extremely rough for them. So once I started to become successful in the industry, I knew that that's where I was going to give back. And we started several years ago now giving away a quality free vaporizer to a medical patient anywhere in the world. And it's so easy to qualify. And I know we hear from so few of you out there. We would certainly like to hear from more of you that are in a financial situation where you couldn't afford a vaporizer, but you sure could use one because maybe you never smoked in your life, or you can't smoke in your apartment or your basement suite or whatever the case may be, and a vaporizer would alleviate those situations. Not to mention a much more healthy way to consume your cannabis, as it eliminates well over 20 carcinogens that are created by combustion. So it's a bonus from the health factor. And it's like a double-edged sword, because not only is it better for their health, but it's also a money-saving device. Because they're more efficient than combustion or burning your product, patients actually use less. So it's a money-saving device for them. So it's really, really important that medical patients who use cannabis for their ailments have access to a quality vaporizer. So in that respect, we offer free, and it is 100% free. We pay to send it right to your door, a quality vaporizer. All you have to do is be a patient who uses cannabis medicinally, and you can be anywhere in the world. We do ship them anywhere. It doesn't make no difference. And all you have to do is send me an email and tell us a little bit about yourself, and we put you in our little barrel, and hopefully sometime in the future we draw your name and send you out a quality vaporizer for free. Now, I know some of you are actually listening to the program. Don't be shy. Pick up your computer or your neighbor's computer or your sons or daughters and have them send an email to Kelly, Kelly, at kdkwholesale.ca. And the sooner you get it to us, the sooner we can put you in the hat, and the sooner we can hopefully get you a free vaporizer. Because I know, and from past experience, the vaporizers that we have sent out there have meant a lot to these people. So if you're listening, and if you're not one of these people and you're listening, no doubt if you're involved in the marijuana community, you know somebody who could benefit from this. So please let them know, make them aware of the program, and hopefully we can get a free vaporizer out to them someday.
And that's an amazing thing that you do, Kelly. So on behalf of the movement, thank you so very much. And thank you as well for all the support you've given us here on the Big Broadcasting Network, and as well as all the other organizations that you and your team have reached out to over the many years to help be strong, which I think has also included PACE. Correct, Al? Correct.
Yes. We help Kelly promote his vaporizer and stuff. We hand out the joint conversations with a link in there directly to Kelly's email address, so patients can write Kelly and make it easier for them if they don't catch his email address when he speaks about it. And we point it out to patients when they come to our public stands or a public booth that we have usually every weekend, and where people will come and ask questions. So we promote that Kelly's vaporizer to them, and we promote vaporizing basically to almost every patient we see, because a lot of people that we actually talk to are older people that some people would think that a marijuana booth would attract just young people, but we get a lot of older people, retired people to the booth, and they're not smokers. not, a lot of them aren't smokers, and they've never smoked cannabis. And I get phone calls from patients who are that age, and they ask about the smoking question. So it's always nice to be able to tell them about vaporization and tell them about what Kelly does in order to offer these to patients.
Cool. Thanks for your help in that respect, Al. It's
no problem, Kelly. It's we're all in this together, and us as far as patients are concerned, Kelly, we appreciate what you're doing by giving these away to people in need.
Awesome. Yeah, it feels good. Trust me, the feedback we get is spectacular.
Yeah.
Well, well, listening to all the good news too in the last section of this broadcast, I can only get the impression that by the time summer comes around, the marijuana movement will be camping out with many members of the federal government up there, and you'll all be having family day and smoking out together, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, we hope so. It'd be nice if it came as early as this summer. What do you think, Kelly? Is there a chance?
I don't know. I think that's pushing it. They got a lot of ground to cover, how to tax it, how to distribute it, how to, just there's a lot to figure out. Who are we going to allow people little microbreweries? Are we going to allow people to grow their own fine wine? People buy grapes or grow grapes, make their own wine. People make their own beer. I think opening it up personally to everybody and everything. Yeah, if you want to grow some on your own, by all means, you should be allowed to and make your own home brew, so to speak. Because let's face it, the vast majority of people cannot grow for various reasons. Number one, they don't have a plot of land to grow anything in, or they don't have a basement and can't afford to, buy all the equipment and stuff necessary to grow it, and maybe they don't even want to. Lots of people don't have a green thumb, let's face it.
That's
So
right.
there's going to be a lot of people who want to, but I think the vast majority of people are going to want to purchase. They're not going to want to make their own anyhow. As anybody who's grown in their lifetime cannabis knows, that it's not the simple as buying a seed, getting some dirt, putting it in a planter, and watering it, and magically, how many ever weeks later, you have some wonderful cannabis to smoke. It's a lot more involved than that. So I think the vast majority of people are just going to purchase it like they do their tobacco or their alcohol or their milk and bread from the corner store. So in that respect, then I like the idea of microbreweries where people are maybe fooling around with genetics and crossing this and that and making their own blend. And then, of course, then we need the mass production of the big facilities, because there's going to be a fairly large demand. So these are the big corporate guys. Maybe they're the ones who sponsor hockey teams or, like breweries do and that kind of stuff.
Television.
And they provide the generic or mass-produced product. That's a little bit less than your microbrewery. I think there's room for everybody in there, and to me, that's utopia and the ideal thing. As far as distributing it to the people, I don't know if alcohol is the way to go. One of our previous guests had mentioned that some people use cannabis to help with alcohol addiction, so forcing them to go to a liquor store to purchase their their cannabis, is a little bit difficult. But again, it doesn't matter what we do. We're not going to be able to please everybody. At that one from the other side of the coin, distribution is already set up. The network is there. It's also, it'll be easier to slide it into that mainstream liquor store type of idea, because everything's already in place. And it would probably be the easiest way to go about it. Is it the right way to go about it? I mean, I don't know. I'm no expert, but I see it as probably being the least expensive and already set up to go. So probably the most logical direction to go, in my opinion. And of course, yes, people will unfortunately have to deal who are maybe alcoholics or previously alcoholics dealing with going to purchase their cannabis in a liquor store.
Yeah. But could you go into could you just picture yourself going into your corner liquor store and asking them about the cannabis? Like, will there be any training for those employees? You know, I've read some stuff that says, well, these employees won't be required to, you know, consume it in order to be able to sort of test it so that they can tell the customer what it's all about and what it's like. Whereas, you know, if we're a dispensary model where, you know, there's dispensaries where there's people that are already educated on this, you know, if they would allow them to become, you know,
sort of
somehow
like,
connect in there.
Right, sort of like a wine sommelier. We'll have your local connoisseur at the dispensary, you know, giving you the ins and outs and the subtleties of the flavors and notes of this and that. And of course, it's, you know, whether it's sativa or indica, let's face it, if we just all of a sudden set up shop in a week or two in liquor stores, these people, a lot of them aren't even going to know, oh, there's indica and sativa? Okay, so it's like red and white wine. All right, let's.
All right, yeah. Some people only think there's only just cannabis or just marijuana. They don't realize that there's thousands of strains and the different effects and all this stuff. And you know, that would be, to me, risky just to throw that in there, untrained people to go ahead and sell this when we have a whole slew of people who are already trained and knowledgeable on it. Now, I know that they don't want to do a duplication of services, but I think that somehow you could come up with something that could work together. You know, like, you know, we all can be trained on how to ask for ID. That's not hard.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, if you look younger than 25, we're going to ask you for ID, the same as they do for cigarettes, you know?
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned that earlier in the last segment, that place wanted parents to sign license paperwork for a 25-year-old. But I thought that was a little bit crazy.
Yeah. At 25 years old, hopefully I don't need parental permission for it, to tell you the
truth. Same here. Okay, now, you know, another thing that we haven't touched on when it comes to legalization, we're talking about the sale of the cannabis product, and, you know, we can talk about the taxes that are collected and the jobs that are created and stuff like that. But what about non-consumable products? For example, balms and creams, lotions. Would they be available in, let's say, your regular healthcare store?
I think a lot of them already are, to tell you the truth, but I think naturally the marketplace will absorb, you know, cannabis itself, going either to liquor store or maybe standalone cannabis stores. I'm not sure. And I think all the subsidiary products have already mostly found their way into mainstream. You know, you can see a lot of this stuff, and even hemp hearts have been available in health food.
Well, that's hemp. I know you can get lotions like with hemp in it, but I'm talking about with cannabis in it.
Oh, like a topical where you're actually using it personally for maybe a skin treatment or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and inflammatory. You know, instead of going to buy some cream for someone's sore hands, for arthritic hands, you know, go over to the drugstore and pick up a topical for your arthritic hands, and you know, wouldn't need to.
Well, if it's in a prescription mode, obviously it's going to go through the pharmacies. And as much as cannabis has hated pharmaceuticals, again, now that, you know, system is already set up and operational, and anything pharmaceutical like topicals and tinctures and stuff like that, anything that may, you know, obviously have cannabis content and THC or CBD, whatever the case may be, that needs to be also regulated, and I don't think handled through a liquor store, because now you need a little bit of knowledge of the human body and how it acts, reacts, and so on and so forth. So again, here's the pharmaceutical crew. They're already somewhat educated, or hopefully educated, in all that stuff. So I think, again, logically, that's the place to go with that type of stuff, and you just take your prescription there like you would for any other medicine.
Yeah, I sort of look at it like you can walk into a store right now and buy some, A535 for sore muscles. You don't need any prescription. It's not something that you can smoke, right?
No.
So, I sort of look at, you go into a healthcare store and can do the same thing with a cannabis lotion. I know some people sort of think, well, it's still cannabis, but it's not going to.
It doesn't need to be regulated like anything else.
Yeah.
To smoke it, you're not going to get high off of it.
Exactly.
You use it as a cream, for whatever its intended purpose is. So there is a two-tiered thing there, like you say, hand creams and lip balms and any of that stuff that contain hemp. Even shampoos and all that. We sell shampoos and lip balms and oils and exfoliating washes and
it just never ends.
The product the product line is huge, and all this stuff can be put in your local convenience store, grocery store, pharmacy, and everybody can have access to it without restriction. And it's impossible to get high. So there's those things.
But again, there's another advantage of having some of these dispensaries actually turn into like a retail business where because they know all the information and the education behind this versus some people who don't. But now one thing I wanted to touch on, you had mentioned about micro grows and all that. And I'm on the same. I agree with you. Where you have a big commercial type thing that serves sort of the main public, and then you've got these micro grows where you can get specialty strains. Let's say someone's just growing all kinds of one seed company strain or whatever, and you could go there and pick it up. Because like we have a micro brewery just down the road from my house here, and it's won awards all across Canada, and he's just a local resident, so I don't see why a local resident couldn't set up a micro growth.
Yeah, you bet. They can't compete on a financial level with the big guys. So yeah, their product is a little bit more, but microbrewery beers are the same. Like I say, in an open marketplace, I think there's room for everybody, and I would really, really, really like to see those options where we have the mass-produced stuff, and we have microbrewery, micro grow stuff, and also where you can grow your own. I've always mentioned that cannabis, people that are using it medicinally and they're growing it for themselves, there can be nothing greater than the feeling of success and healing when you literally grow it yourself to heal your own body. The feeling and the pleasure garnered from being able to do that is immeasurable, and I don't think we should take that away from those people either.
Well, I can certainly tell you that when I just grow regular flowers, I have a nice feeling of accomplishment. Or there's been times when I've grown tomatoes or green beans and they've come out really nice, and I felt pretty proud of my hard work. So I can imagine, what cannabis farmers feel. And I know that we were going to talk more about that when we come back from our commercial break here at Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain. For patients seeking quick pain relief, Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Well, I once had a bowl, gut green reefer, a big fat don't be much, much sweeter. I don't hide it. I don't hide it. Well, I don't hide it. I don't hide it. Well, I don't hide it. Fire up right now.
Thank you for taking time for Hemp. I am your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to us on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio. Good golly, Miss Molly, we are all over the internet. And jeepers, we are wrapping up our last segment here of the big Canadian hour. And I want to say all you people up there in Canada have done an amazing job at educating your leaders as to how important it is to reintroduce this cash crop back into the economy. I certainly hope that our leaders follow suit. With that, I will keep my mouth shut and pass this joint chat back to our joint guest and our joint host here on the joint broadcast on Time for Hemp.
Well, Al, you had something else you wanted to
Yes, I wanted to continue what we were talking about just briefly before the break, and that was, okay, we talked about, the big conglomerate companies selling, and then we talked about the micro grows being able to have, their own little establishments and little companies and stuff like that and competing with others. What I was wondering was, out in Alberta, like here in Ontario, we can make our own beer and wine. Out in Alberta where you are, do you have a limit on the amount of beer and wine that you can produce?
I don't know. I guess there must be a level at where if you're producing so much, you become a microbrewery. And I don't know what that level is. I'm not familiar with that. But yes, of course, I know you can brew your own beer and make your own wine, of course. To what level? I have no doubt there's some kind of restriction, obviously. If you produce so much, you're making it for, you're a microbrewery or micro winery.
Right.
Sorry, I don't have any idea of what that level could be. I'm sure there is a level where you do become a producer rather than just personal consumption.
Well, the research that I've been able to find here in Ontario, I've talked to some people who make their own wine and beer. I took a look online at some of the information. And what I found was that here in Ontario, it is an unlimited amount of beer and wine that you can produce for yourself. Now, what prevents you from being a microbrewery and all that is that you can produce as much wine and beer, but you cannot sell it.
Legal.
Right? Okay, yes, exactly. So if we can produce as much wine and beer as we want, and as we know, alcohol is one of the hardest drugs on society when you add in all the collateral damage and everything. If we can produce an unlimited amount, why can't we produce the unlimited amount of a safer product such as cannabis? Under the same stipulation that you don't sell it.
Right.
Well, if we can do it with one, why can't we do it with the other? Like I realize I'm not going to grow 1,000 plants, but if everybody grows 1,000 plants, then it's not worth anything, right?
Right. It becomes then the buyer becomes very, very sought after. When everybody's growing 1,000 plants, there's nowhere to sell our cannabis. Hopefully, we can ship it to the U.S. in the future.
But if somebody wants to grow 25 plants in order to be able to produce enough that they need for themselves to make their own, products as far as their edibles and stuff like that, then why should they be restricted to only growing 5 plants?
Right.
Right? I've talked to a lot of advocates, and they say, well, we shouldn't have to be forced to. We should grow as many as we can. You have the Russell Barths and stuff like that. But I sort of looked at it that way, is that if we can brew beer and wine at an unlimited amount and damage it causes, then something safer. Why should we be required to produce less? But
Yeah.
I'll never grow 1,000 plants, and I doubt you would either, Kylie. But
right. Well, ultimately, if you take on 1,000 plants, you can't do it yourself anyhow. So I think at that time you've become a producer, and you're going to have to pay people to help you, trim and do whatever and blah 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 blah. So I think it comes naturally. There's obviously a point when it becomes a full-time job that you're a producer and you have moved from the ranks of the home brewery or home grow to the micro grow.
Yeah, like I don't personally, I don't know anybody who spends all day making beer and wine and then turns around and sells it and says, they got a big warehouse full of it or anything like that. But I just sort of look at it as, if a person can grow 25 plants, could say, for example, to supply themselves and supply somebody who, say, lives in an apartment building who can't grow, then they shouldn't be hunted down and stuff like that.
No, definitely not, for sure. Yeah. Again, I think if we take it from a level-headed position and we don't overtax it and we allow everybody access to it, I think everything will just sort of shift and find its way. And no doubt we'll have to adapt and change as the program moves on. Because let's face it, they're never going to get 100% right out of the gate. There's going to have to tweak it, and they'll find holes and loopholes and people doing this, that, and the other thing, and they'll have to fill those holes and so on and so forth. But it'll be an evolving thing. But again, with the government we have in place, I really believe they're going to be fairly common sense about it, which is we'll see again. It's so early in their regime that I'm not sure yet, but I got this scary, uneasy feeling that they're going to do it the common sense way.
So what's going to happen to all of your federal drug agents?
Oh, they're going to start their own micro grows.
See, like they are talking about legalizing it, but they're also talking about clamping down hard on those who go beyond the system. So, if there's somebody who's growing 1,000 plants and is selling it, then that person could be subject to still, heavy incarceration.
Absolutely. There's no reason, again, in a free market system, you can legally grow 1,000 plants and sell it. You just have to do it legally. Pay your taxes and hire your people and pay workers' compensation and employment insurance and all those kinds of things. And as long as, hey.
Yeah.
No reason to do it. Once it becomes legal like that, it really makes it not very appealing to do it illegally.
Correct.
Especially on a large scale.
Yes. So, to some people, they say that sort of takes the fun or the challenge out of it when it becomes legal.
Well, one thing that's come to an end is the hour, that's for sure. We are ready to wrap it up and say, oh boy, another show in the can, man. So this is the time to give a shout out to your favorite URLs or organizations. We'll start with our joint guest first. Al?
Yeah, I'd like to throw a shout out to the PACE website to let everybody know where it's at, and that's pace-online.ca. And there you'll find everything from pictures of us being involved in non-cannabis events where we're doing public education on the ground and taking it right to the people who are, basically I would say uneducated, and where they're educating them. As well as you'll find therapeutic links, as well as other information there that you're more than welcome to glance through. And that's pace-online.ca.
And Kelly?
I have a shout out for the people at Lyft. They're unaware that I'm doing this yet. Lift is a brand new trade show for the cannabis industry coming in May 28th, 29th, 2016, Exhibition Hall A at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. I know that my seed company, the Embassy, will be there, and it's an exciting time, and we expect a lot more big business to be there, more mainstream as opposed to previous shows. So we hope to see you there. That's the Lift Cannabis Expo Toronto 2016, May 28th and 29th.
And I want to remind people that we are also growing cannabis on our website. You can check it out. And it's happening around the clock, 24/7. And also, you'll find lots of MP3s you can download for free, share with your friends. If you're trying to find the favorite app for your favorite smart device, we have all of those on the homepage as well. And there is also a short little MP3 you can listen to on the homepage about how you can get the free vaporizer that Kelly's offered. All you got to do is click on it and listen to that and share it with your friends. And don't forget, Time for Hemp is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as well. We're broadcasting about the importance to end prohibition with a great team of people that we would like to have you share with your friends when you get a chance to take Time for Hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes.
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.